of it.
Yeah.
So how's everything going
Absolutely.
with you?
Yeah, good. Actually, really good. I mean, I'm super sensitive to this question of how things are in this time, because I know a lot of people have suffered and had a really terrible time. But I'll be honest, it's probably been the most creative time of my career this last year.
Yeah,
I've got more done, and more done in ways that I probably wouldn't have done if we'd have been still in the studio and all the rest of it. So I prefer to work from home anyway. I've got a studio here. All that being said, we're just about to do a big remodel, so I'm moving back into the studio. But I've been working from home all year, and it's just been the best time I've ever had. It's been amazing.
There's a few other. I mean, I hear mixed bags. I've got a lad who was on the last one that we released, actually, Fatty Bassman. You know, he's a session musician, so a lot of his income comes from the live shows and stuff like that. You know, I mean, he gets stuff from, you know, overdubbing and doing that sort of stuff. But the guys like that, you know, I really feel for them, because it's
been horrible. I mean, I've really missed using, you know, being in a studio in a room with musicians. I've managed to do a few sort of live things, you know, socially distanced live things. When I launched my album, we did a live from Sheffield City Hall,
right? And
they gave me the stage and the Steinway piano, so we were able to set up all the musicians in the round. It was really gorgeous. It sounded beautiful. It was really nice to do. That was amazing, just having musicians around again, you know. So I can't wait to be able to do that again.
Yeah, it's an odd one, because now you have this capability of having the studio on a laptop. So, and this, you know, thankfully we do have the Zoom, you know, the Zoom capability as well. But you know, the productivity wise is amazing for musicians nowadays, because you can literally, you know, flip open a laptop and get access to
get on with it.
And get on with it. But I can't help but feel like that might have its drawbacks as well, in terms of
absolutely the
magic, you know, that you get whenever when several musicians in a live environment lock in together and there's a chemistry. I'm not
absolutely.
I'm on the fence between. I think it's an amazing thing that artists, you know, no matter where they came from, you know, you could start learning the guitar today, flip open a laptop, record it, and you could release it via DistroKid, right? And it might be crap,
all from your laptop.
It might be crap, but you can do that, right? So I'm always on the fence of this kind of like, whether or not it's a good thing, or whether or not it's too much of a blessing and it takes away some of the magic of the old time of. Having to get together and drag your amp down a street, you know.
I'm a real energy guy, and there's nothing compared to being in a room with people, you know, and vibing off them. I also think it's good from a point of view of sort of policing you in terms of your ideas and stuff. And I think, you know, what we've got now is this sort of plethora of uncurated music that's not really being peer reviewed properly. It's not being sort of gone through the normal policing procedure you would do, surrounded by musicians and being in studios and stuff. So as a result, there's a real standard drop, I think. And that's one of those things that I'm super sensitive about. So I send songs out all the time to people that I trust, you know, and get their perspective and get their thoughts. So like when it comes to making my own album in here, which I've mostly done myself, I was constantly sending stuff to Gary Barlow or Brian Adams or people that I trust the ears of, you know, are going to be really brutal with me, just to keep a perspective. Otherwise, you can sort of get lost in all that.
Well, I don't know, though, because that can work both ways in terms of sometimes and I can think of a few artists that I won't name, but they get to that point where everybody around them is telling them that whatever they're doing is amazing.
Right? Which is what when I say play them to people who are going to be brutal with them. That's the point of that. Yeah, exactly.
So well, you know, congratulations on such a successful career in music. I mean, I was quite surprised. You're one of those people, it seems, that kind of majority of the time has worked kind of in the mechanics behind the scenes. Put, you know, masterminding these pop songs and then them going on to being absolutely massive. But I don't know. How did you get started with all of that?
Well, at the very beginning, music was a big part of my house. My dad was a singer. We emigrated to Australia when I was little. And my dad was a singer and would do cabaret. And then when we moved back when I was like 11, 12, he carried on doing the Northern Working Men's Club circuit. That's what you do, as a musician. That's your ability to learn your chops, if you like, as you do the clubs. And so that's sort of, I would go with him and sit in the dressing room and be popping crisps and listen to him sing all the standards of the day, in the late 70s, early 80s. So that was my sort of education, if you like. And for whatever reason, I was just able to play a keyboard. We had a keyboard, and I was able to play some of the songs that Dad sang and not really understand how I could do it. And then that was it. It was almost like someone flung open the doors of the universe. And it was like, oh my God, this, and then, of course, you start listening as a musician. You then start listening to music differently, and that just sort of took me in a whole different direction. I just couldn't absorb enough music, and that was when my love affair with music started, if you like. So going through high school, all I ever wanted to do was be at the piano. And anyone that remembers me from high school will know me as the dude at the piano, because at break time, lunchtime, after school, I just couldn't get enough of it. And of course, I never really had the intention or desire to be in a band or be an artist. It just didn't. I just don't have that in my DNA, I don't think. But I did want to be in music. I didn't realize a songwriter or producer what they did at that time. But then I sort of started taking much more notice of album credits and things like that when I was about 12, 13. And of course, thick into electronic pop music at the time. In Sheffield, we had the Human League, Heaven 17, Cabaret Voltaire. I mean, that was my thing, So I then discovered soul music when I was about 14. And that was it then. Again, it felt like a whole new room of the universe opened up. So I just got absorbed in it. And even though I could sing, which I guess I got from my dad, it never really interested me. It was never one of those things where it was like, oh, I'm going to do this now. Really? But what else do you do when you're a kid? You're in a band and you're a singer. And that was it. You just go down that road until until the point where the band I was in, I was sort of the keyboard player and songwriter, producer guy, which is hilarious because I've got two hooves instead of fingers for piano. But thankfully, I've now got a great keyboard player. But we were offered a deal, and I always wanted to work with a producer called Alex Sadkin, who had produced Thompson Twins and my favorite pop record, Robbie Neville's C'est La Vie. And I only wanted to work with him, and I found out that he died a couple of weeks before in a car crash in Montserrat. Oh man! And I just thought, shaft this. I don't want to be in a band. I want to do that. So in a weird way, my entire career has been some sort of tribute to Alex Sadkin in a way. Oh, right. So I just decided I wanted to do that and be in the studio all the time. And that led to sort of working with some songwriters that one of them had a hit, and sort of we started writing together and then sure enough, after years of slog and being a T-boy and learning how to use all the gear and stuff, it eventually led to someone listening, and that led to my relationship with Kenny Thomas. Right. And that's how that started. And we still maintain, literally just written a new single for him. So it's 30 years in the making, that relationship. So it's we started there, and one thing led to another, and then Take That. We had my first number one with Take That. That's when my friendship with Gary started, and again maintains. And then 5 years later, after a whirlwind time in the 90s after hitting several number ones, Bryan Adams becomes a great friend and collaborator. What's lovely is these people are still my closest friends, and songwriters. So it's one of those things. I can't remember making any of the decisions that led me to this point. But one decision I know was one that I had to make at some point because I was being bullied by Gary Barlow to make it, was to make an album. And which seems like the most crazy thing. I've just had my 52nd birthday. Yeah. And I've got an album released. It's just hilarious to me. But it started a couple of years ago, actually, my 50th birthday. And I invite a load of artists and that I'd had hits with, and the Take That Boys came, and S Club, and Heather Small, and Alfie Bovarius. It was an amazing night. We raised $100,000 for the charity,
nice.
Which was beautiful. And we just ended up, we had a great time. And afterwards, Gaz called me and he said, "El, when we were in your dressing room, Alfie turned to me and said, 'Who's singing here?' Because I'd gone out and started the gig.
Yeah.
And I said, 'It's El.' And Alfie said, 'I didn't know El was a singer.' And he said, "What do you think we're doing here?" It's his birthday party. So they all came up. And so afterwards, he called me and said, "El, you need to make an album." I just thought he was high. I said, "What is wrong with you? Why would I do that?"
Yeah.
And he went, "El, I'm not joking. You need to make an album." So I ignored him and didn't think about it. And then went to see the band, the boys, on tour. And he'd arranged for me to meet an agent. And I looked at him. And I said, "Gaz, what is up with you?" And he went, "El, I'm not letting you go, mate. You're going to have to make an album." So he just pounded me about. And eventually, this year happened. And I just thought, well, you know what? I'll have a go and see what happens. I'd already made an album called Mind Music, which was a sort of reflective, meditative relaxation album.
Yeah, yeah.
And really, because people were suffering from insomnia and all the rest of it. So I released it. And it's really helped a lot of people. I've had some beautiful messages about it.
Do you do meditation yourself? Do you actually meditate?
I do. Yeah, I do. I learned TM some years
joking?
ago.
I'm a TM.
Yeah.
I am.
Oh,
well.
you? There you go, mate.
I've been doing.
I see that other than the spiritual side, which I think is fantastic, the sort of, the awareness and all that, just purely as a mental practice for taking out the garbage from your head every day is just a huge thing this year.
Yeah. Oh, I cannot speak highly enough of it. In fact, I when I first found TM, or I don't know whether now where it found me, or whether or not I was just because I was doing different kinds of meditation, but all of them were the same for me. In that, the what's it called, the Headspace or something, the app that you can get on your phone.
Oh yeah,
and I felt the benefits if I kept on doing it every day for like 6 days, and then I could sort of start feeling the benefits. But up until that 6th day, I wasn't really getting that much out of it.
Right,
and it was kind of bugging me. I had to sit down with an app, and I just want to be able to sit down on a bench somewhere and do it.
Sure.
So that's how I found TM, just by kind of trying to listen out. And it was Russell Brand, I think, was like, that makes sense. But wow, I mean, I started doing it properly right at the beginning of lockdown. And it completely saved my day. I've got 2 small kids; they couldn't go to school, so I'm in the house with them all the time. And it's incredible what it does. I mean, like in terms of you can feel completely drained of energy. Sit down at 6 p.m. Do your TM, and it's like you've just woken up again for the rest of the day.
Well, it's your well, isn't it? It's you refilled your well. That you drove it, and I get it, and I love all. I started doing a community radio show Tuesdays and Thursdays. I absolutely loved it. It was brilliant fun. I've never been a DJ before or a presenter.
Yeah.
And I'd absolutely loved doing. We had a community of people listening, hundreds of listeners. It was great fun on every show. And I then started doing like a late night on a Monday, sort of breathing exercise program for an hour.
Okay.
Just to help 10 o'clock on a Monday night to help people sort of get into sleep mode and relax. Basically, and the way I explain it to people, because obviously if you're a seeker like you clearly are and looking for this information, it's rewarding, isn't it? But for a lot of people, it can be a little bit freaky.
Yes. So I don't even speak. There's some friends that will be listening to this now going, huh? He does TM. It works for me. I keep it to myself.
Yeah, exactly. I'm one of those people that enjoys sort of expressing this. I think in this day and age more than ever, people are so in need of some spiritual guidance, and it's not religion, that's for sure. I'm quite up for sharing the information, and this show on a Monday night have really helped people, just a breathing exercise. But I always refer to it as finishing off your thinking. Yeah, in terms of anyone who is suffering from this but isn't necessarily on the journey to seeking this information will gradually take steps towards that door. Do you know what I mean? And that doorway. Yeah. And say, oh, hold on, this really works. This has really helped me. So there's something else there. Yeah. But like you, mate, I find it really, really therapeutic. No doubt about it.
I mean, like I said before, I was a bit skeptical when I first went into it. Mainly because you have to pay, right? And I was like,
right.
Well, I don't know, and you don't get your mantra till you pay. And I was like, okay. Why is that then? Can't you just give it to me? But the first time of transcending, which did happen on the first go for me, which apparently it does for everyone, but I actually couldn't believe it. I buzzed out of the building.
Yeah,
thinking there's a whole next level to life.
Super.
Like there's another level.
Yeah.
Like I've broken through. Like this is amazing. And now it could be anything. You could be tired, sit down, do TM, or you could just feel a little bit anxious about to sit down and do TM, or it could be that drinking. I got far too in the habit, especially over or approaching even lockdown, coming into lockdown, of just opening that bottle of wine with my wife, and that was creeping into like Wednesday and then Tuesday and stuff. And I noticed it, and I thought, actually, I don't want to be doing that. So rather than grabbing that glass of wine after I'd finished doing whatever I was doing, I just sit down and do TM first. And because you get a release of endorphins, your body doesn't really want that.
That's right.
To get the endorphins from the alcohol. So it's all of a sudden you're like, oh, I don't actually need the alcohol now. It's like the answer to everything.
Yeah. Well, that's the point, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that it's a natural, abundant answer to so much anxiety and stress.
Yeah. And I do know as well, there's a definite similar feeling when you get lost, certainly in like a piano or the guitar. Wherever it is that you go, that sort of warm and fuzzy kind of I'm here, I'm not here place is kind of the same place that you get to.
Is where music exists. I listen, mate. Yeah. When talking about when we're getting into conversations like this, which I love, because it, often in the same questions as how do you do what you do, or what drives you, what inspires you, and all the rest of it. I just say, look, as we speak, the universe is still creating more stuff, and it only knows how to do that, and it's all energy.
Yeah.
And I believe that where Higgs was looking for the bit of the field of energy that gives everything its mass is also where music lives.
Yeah.
And, it's all energy. And what we're able to do, or what the idea is, if you're prepared to surrender to it and something bigger than yourself, and be okay about that, as in get out of your own way. And be happy to be a part of something bigger. Yeah. Then you get to receive. You get to receive the energy. And what's beautiful for a musician, or a songwriter, or a painter, or an architect, or a choreographer, or whatever, is you get to personalize it with your experience, your memories, your sense of self, that makes it unique. That's, what a gift. Who doesn't want to be a part of that energy,
Yeah. And at that point, I think this is where a lot of people get confused about making music, because the fact that you're making music, but actually you're also receiving it, I guess.
Yeah. It's all there, mate.
Yeah.
Every song that's ever written or ever will be written, it's up there in energy. and the way I sort of explain it to people is, I say I'm lucky enough to be holding a pencil the day the universe wants to write a song. But the reality of that is, I put my aerial up. Do you know what I mean? I put my aerial up there, which means I'm ready to receive. But the only way to do that, to actually physically be able to ready to receive, is to surrender. And get out of the way of your ego, get out of the way of the fact that you think it's all about you. Yeah. And just be fortunate. Yeah. You know what I mean? Be happy to feel fortunate about the ability to receive that energy. Yeah. And I think that's the problem. People forget how much of a gift it is. They think it's all about them and their talent and all the rest of it. And don't get me wrong, for whatever reason, some of us have the ability to filter that energy into something creative. Yeah. Not everyone can do that. And that's a real privilege. But I think that people get lost in this idea of what it actually is to be in music and sort of, make that part of your life, especially doing what I do as a songwriter. I learned a long, long time ago that it was very little to do with me and everything to do with the energy wanting to write a song that day.
Yeah. You've just got to put the work in to make sure your fingers can go where they need to.
That's exactly it. You've got to practice. You've got to fall in love with music, subject yourself to as much music. You've got to put work into the system. Yeah. You know, I've come across a lot of blissed out meditators that sort of sit there and think that the universe is just going to drop it in their lap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've actually had this argument with quite a few people who, you know, do the rounding and go to, you know, see the Maharishi and all this stuff. And they come back with this sort of blissed out expression on their face. Like, this is great. I don't have to do anything anymore. And it's just like, no, you don't. You're missing the point. You've got to put work in. You've got to be ready. You've got to. The way you show you're ready to receive is putting the effort in. And you know, matching the energy. I think that's also a little bit that's lost in the process.
Yeah. I mean, even if you listen back on Noel Gallagher talking. Yeah. You listen to every single time someone asks him. He says exactly the same thing. He says he's just fishing. And he just wants to catch them before Coldplay or U2.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, but I mean, and you know, and he's a guy that, you know, you wouldn't put Noel Gallagher and spiritual in the same sentence necessarily. So, you know, and he's also a northerner. Not to muck around with that spiritual, you know.
But he can't deny that where it comes from, because I think anyone who succeeded at this has to, at points in their life, sort of go, what is going on? I can't remember making the decisions that led to this. So it can't be just about what I'm doing. So you realize that there are definitely sort of forces at play conspiring to make things happen. And I just think that if you're attuned to it and you're prepared to subject yourself, and again, I use the word surrender because a lot of people find that difficult. Yeah. If you're prepared to do that, then you're able to receive more information and opportunities present themselves. And I just think that it's, you know, it's such a state of mind and soul in unity, that stuff. It sounds a bit hairy-fairy to a lot of people, but I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah. I don't know whether the music industry itself might be at fault a little bit, because if you're an aspiring musician and you're looking at the people that are already successful, there's a lot of money, stature, glitz, glamour, and all that comes along with it. And I think that when you actually dig deeper and you know, listen to some of the interviews that I can think of, like Katy Perry and stuff, where she's openly saying, you know, I got here and it isn't the place that you think it's going to be, you know, and actually she started doing TM as a consequence of that, because she just didn't feel the fulfillment of it. So I think people now, when they're aspiring, can put the cart before the horse and try and achieve the money and the success without actually building up the back catalogue, you know.
I totally agree. And I think that in that process, you lose that ability to appreciate and subject yourself, because you think it's all about you. You think it's because there's so many people around you telling you it's about you because they earn from you, that you start believing it. I've seen it happen to so many artists. And eventually they work it out, because all of those people that are feeding them with that crap, as soon as the flow stops, they disappear. They move on to the next one. And you can't help but feel, you know, hard done to at that point. And it's at those points where you kind of go, okay, I need to work this out. And if you're lucky enough, in that by that I mean you've got the wherewithal to admit to yourself that it's not all about you and be okay about that, you get another crack, you get another opportunity to sort of draw from that well. And I think that's the biggest lesson. I try to instill this in young artists all the time, and have done throughout my career of developing young artists. And that started with the Spice Girls and S Club and Five and Blue, all of those artists that I played a part in developing. I used to try to, you know, help them to see as soon as possible that it wasn't about them, that they were a part of something bigger than themselves. And when they listen, it's great to watch, because you see they have a career, you know, they go on and they work it out, you know. And that to me is the best, is a joy to see.
Yeah, and how involved in the development did you get in those acts that you're talking about?
All of those artists I mentioned there from the very beginning. I mean, the Spice Girls moved into my house. We introduced them to me, and my manager introduced them to Simon Fuller. When they were with me, they had no money. I had to give them petrol money to come and stay. They had nowhere to stay. So it was literally in the beginning.
So how is? I thought they were put together via sort of audition.
They were put together by two guys, and Chris Herbert and Bob. I went to see Chris about a different artist they were managing, and I wasn't that keen on working with them. And I said, "Do you manage anyone else?" He went, "Well, I started this thing. It's not really ready, and it's these 5 girls. It's like a pop R&B thing. It's like a girl group rather than a boy group." And I said, "Well, that sounds fun. Let me work with them." Didn't hear anything back until the day before the session was set. I got a phone call in another studio from the studio I'd booked, saying there's 2 girls here and they need to talk to you. And it was Mel B and Jerry. And they said, "We're firing our manager tomorrow because he won't let us work with anyone. We're meant to work with you and he wouldn't give us your phone number. So we've just decided to fire him." And second was, "Have you got anywhere we can stay?" So that was it. That was the beginning of our relationship. And they had nothing but themselves and their energy and their message.
Yeah.
And we wrote great, fun songs, and they went and changed the world. It was simple as that. And that I tried to just approach all of those artists I were in development with. Like we did the same with S Club with Simon Fuller from the very beginning. Literally day one in the studio, and Blue 5 were very similar. 5 were actually managed by that guy that put the Spice Girls together.
Wow.
So it's been one of those things that I feel I've probably been the best at of all the things I've done throughout my career, is develop young artists. Yeah. So and because as a songwriter, I always saw my job was to get into the heart and mind of whoever I was working with, which is why I'm proud to have been able to go from Bryan Adams to Celine Dion to Spice Girls to S Club in 1 year, without them all sounding like each other. Because it was important for me to get into their vocabulary, to get into their emotions, see what they wanted to say.
Yeah.
So it was never about me as a result. So when I do a gig or whatever and I sing those songs, they're so varied. They're all so varied artists. And now, of late had, Aretha Franklin and, Dame Shirley Bassey just recently to add to that list. So it gets even more sort of diverse, So it's been, that I think has made it even more difficult, of course, when it's come to making my own album. Because I've had to go back to that beginning again on that. But it's that I've really enjoyed that job of getting into someone else's vibe. I've been doing it recently with an artist called Tom Seals, who's a piano player and singer, amazing talent. Yeah. You'll hear more about it soon. Yeah, and I've written these singles and a couple of other artists as well like that. So I still enjoy that more than anything.
Yeah, yeah. How do you think that's changed now in terms of what's required in order to develop an artist? When you look at,
I think that the pop thing, I haven't done anything like that for a long time. I think that's relevant to the fact that I'm not sure, an 18-year-old girl or boy wants a 52-year-old dude writing songs for them anymore. And I get that. I get it. I love pop music, but I get it. And I don't really feel as turned on about it as I used to. And I think that's right. I think that makes sense. Yeah. So, I moved into other areas. Gary Barlow and I wrote a Broadway musical, which we hope to bring to the UK next year. Yeah. And that was great. We had a hit with it and it traveled for 3 years. It toured America, which was beautiful. And so that was a way of learning a new craft in music, which is always a great challenge at this point in my life. Yeah. To sort of to make music work in a way that I'd never done before, and then that also applies to working in film and television, which I've also enjoyed. But I'm halfway through a new musical, which I'm getting a great deal of support for, which has been sort of 2 years in the making already. Okay. And then still keeping a hand in developing artists, writing for Alfie Boe, been working with Gary recently on a new project, and we've got a couple of film projects on the go. So I'm spinning plates all over the place because I'm just so enthusiastic about music and get excited about working with anyone. So it's about that. And then, like I say, on top of all this, somewhere in all that, I made an album and a creative statement for myself. So it's a fun time. It's been an incredibly creative time.
What do you do then? have kind of like a bank of tunes that you've written that you kind of like, I think that might fit this artist, or is it more kind of sitting down and it just sort of develops itself with the artist?
Sometimes I have, like, on my phone here, there might be 10 starts. Do you know what I mean? Which is anything from just a murmur into the phone, you know, into the voice thing, or sit down with a guitar or piano and it sort of becomes a bit more formed. Yeah. Generally speaking, they tend to be in the car while, you know, or somewhere odd where I'm not thinking about, or usually outside the studio. Yeah. But there is also something to being put on the spot and, like, you know, Kenny Thomas, for instance, called me recently and said, I could really do with a single. I was like, yes, you can. All right, I'm going to do that. And I've just written one, a sentence. I think it's a smash. It's going to be his next single. Oh, nice. And I feel really good about it. So everyone loves Kenny. He sounds amazing still. Yeah. And, you know, people would be up for him again. So I do still love that challenge. Alfie Boe called me and said he's making an album. Would I get involved? And again, so you just go, yeah, there's a voice I want to write for. Yeah. So I still get excited about that challenge of having to come up with the goods, you know. Yeah. So yeah, it's horses for courses, really. Yeah. And so is kind of doing your own stuff gonna continue, or is that just a one-time bullying campaign? Yeah, exactly. I think they're tired of bullying me now. So I think, you know, I made the album. It's been well received, and everyone seems to really like it that have got the album. I've actually just posted out the first load of CDs today. So there's like, I sold 100 CDs. I've signed them all. Oh, yeah. You know, and there's a campaign starting in Holland, which is lovely because there seems to be a radio audience there. I got Radio 2 on it, and it charted in one of the chart. My latest single charted at number 3 in a chart. So I don't know what I'm trying to achieve, really, other than that I wanted it to do it as a creative exercise and as an honest representation of who I was as a singer. Yeah. But if I'm really honest, I struggle with the whole being an artist thing. I love performing, but I love it on the basis that it's not what I do. Yeah. So I get away with murder. Do you know what I mean? I go out on stage and tell stories and sing songs and tell them a funny story about this song. And there's a little peek behind the curtain for the audience, so it's fun. Yeah. I really enjoy that. I really enjoy doing that. Because it's like inviting people around to your living room, you know, even if it's in a 2,500 seat, you know, city hall or whatever, it still feels very intimate. So I think I'm kind of up for doing that for a bit. And once we get back into theatres, I'd be up for doing the odd gig. I don't know if I'm going to make another album or anything like that, but I do. We'll see how it goes. I mean, you never say never, right? But I've thoroughly enjoyed doing it, and I'm really proud of the album. There's a lot of honesty in it because, you know, there's no point in doing it unless you're going to be brutally honest. Otherwise, why bother doing it at all? So it's been a cathartic exercise as well. And I'm, like I say, I'm thoroughly proud of it. And I'm actually got the vinyl arriving this week, and I can't wait for that to have, you know, my own vinyl album. That's going to be fun.
So have you released it on your own label?
I just released it. I you know, what's great nowadays is you can sort of buy in the services. So, you know, radio pluggers and online promo and all that. Yeah. And of course, because of this time, there's been no telly or anything. So we've been able to do most of it from just here with a camera and interviews like with yourself. Yeah. So I got a couple of PR companies involved that did different things, some radio, some online promo and all the rest of it, social media stuff. And I just put the album out on a universal platform called SpinUp, which allows you just to create an account and release your own music. So I mastered it all. You obviously spent some time making the record. And like I say, Ken Bruce loved it, and we got Radio 2 playlist on the first single. And the rest has grown since then. The videos, you know, the latest ones, you know, going to go over 100,000 at some point. Oh, nice. And the listeners are, you know, up to 30,000 a month. So it feels like there's an audience there, which is nice. And it's meant that I haven't had to sort of try to pretend I'm something I'm not, which is, I can't do that. So it's all being based upon my voice and the music and people knowing who I am, you know, because I said to all the radio guys, the promo guys, look, I'm not stupid, you know. I'm an overweight 52-year-old dude. So let's not pretend, you know, I'm going to go out and start dancing or anything. The editorial is as important as the music in this instance. My career, and here I am making an album at this point in my life. There's a story to go with that, and that's really been the basis for this thing. And as people have discovered more, the next single and now the album, it really has tipped over into all being about the music, which is lovely. Yeah, which is always has been, right? It's kind of like a thank you letter almost to the music that it's given to you so far. Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly what it feels like. Yeah, well, that's awesome. And are you going to tour it, do you think? Are you going to... I don't suppose you would have had much of a chance, would you? It was February. Yeah, it's difficult at the moment, but I'm planning a date in November for Sheffield City Hall to do I tend to do one a year, one of those big City Hall gigs. And we tend to sell it out. I usually get a charity involved, so it's a good opportunity to raise some cash. I asked some friends to come and sing at them. It's always a great night. I've got a killer band of musicians, you know, so it's always a fun gig, and I'm looking forward to that. So I'm going to announce that date soon enough. Oh, nice. And then we're thinking about maybe doing a support slot would be good, you know, with a relevant artist. So I'm looking at a few options there. I'd do it if it seems natural, you know. I don't want to do it if it seems like I'm trying to shoehorn something together. I'm up for doing gigs. I'm up for performing wherever. They want me to go out to Holland and sing on radio and stuff like that. That would be lovely. That'd be great fun. Yeah. So anything like that, I'm totally up for. I don't know if I'd be, I don't know if I want to go out and sort of promote myself. Yeah, you know, by doing a tour, you know. I don't think you have to, do you, really? You probably don't have to. I mean, it's definitely not something that I sort of feel like I need to do. Yeah. I mean, we're in the process now. We've just released our first couple of singles off an album coming up, and we're at the other end. You know, we're trying to establish it as a new build your audience. Exactly. Yeah. So we're going through those joyous hoops to get that out and stuff. So it's fun stuff, isn't it? But I think it goes back to the original point there that you've got this ability now that you can just release stuff. But the challenge behind that is you kind of, if you don't do it in the right way, you just get washed in with all the other stuff that's just got released. Yeah, you do. It's tough. You know, so you need the right PR team and you need the right kind of... You do. Do you know what? You need believers. You just need... Yeah. I've said this to artists from the very beginning. It's not about selling your music. It's about building a fan. Yeah. You know, and if you've got a fan, they become evangelical about you, you know, and they tell someone and they beg them to come to a gig and they buy a T-shirt and you know what I mean? A fan is what you're after. Yeah. Because they sort of shout it from the hills, you know, and it goes beyond your social media circle then and expands into others. So I think that, you know, what I've experienced from myself, and also I've been working with this guy, Niall McNamee, who is just in the process of starting his promo. And I've really enjoyed working with him, and I watch him do the same thing and keep an eye on his numbers and all that kind of stuff. And again, I look at him doing it and I think, oh God, it's exhausting just watching him, you know. So when it comes to me having to do it, unless we can do stuff like this and talk and just be ourselves, I find it ever so difficult. So I try to make every interview or podcast or anything we're doing about real stuff, about the things we've been talking about meditation, or, you know, the things that actually have consequence in your life rather than the nonsense. And one thing I'm thrilled about, and I truly hope it doesn't go back, is this vacuum of celebrity we've had, you know, for the last year, because I hope people realize how garbage it is and unnecessary, and how stupid the nonsense that comes with all of that negative energy. I just hope that continues, because I think that it has become about music again. You know, people have been buying vinyl. I mean, there's a huge big record store opened on Sunset Strip in LA again. You know what I mean? Because, you know, where the Tower Records was. And it's huge, and it's full of vinyl, and it's packed. Oh, nice. That made me really happy. Yeah. Well, here's to more of that. And I think, you know, we had John Greenham on, who's the mastering engineer for Billie Eilish, and he was talking about her kind of temperament with that. And
she's kind of gone down that route. You know, she's hugely famous, but she pushes back on it quite a bit, and she wants people to understand that it's not about that. You know, it isn't. It isn't about that. And I think the industry needs more people like that, and I think they're getting it. You know, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I also, you know, we had that with Adele. You know, was very private. It was all about her music, about her talent, and her honesty and her truth and all that. And I think we do need more artists like that. You know, there are examples with actors like Cate Blanchett. You never see her unless it's promoting a film.
No.
You don't see her in a house making a TV show about her husband and how daft they are. I just think that it's just like, come on, who really needs this crap?
Yeah, absolutely. You know? Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much, Eliot,
yes, mate.
for coming on.
You too. And, I really appreciate your time.
I'll sling you over some of the stuff that we've been working on. See what you think.
Yeah, please do. I'd love to hear that. Yeah, absolutely.
And all the best with the show, I guess, that you've got coming up in. When did you say it was? November.
November time. Yeah, I'll be out on my social media soon enough. As soon as I get the date confirmed, I'm looking forward to it.
We'll keep an eye out for it.
All right, mate.
All right. Well,
good stuff. Thanks for your time, brother.
See you later. Thank you very much. Bye now.
See you, bud.
There we go. Thank you so much for sticking around listening.